Now you're talking. That is the ring-a-ding move, baby.
Background to the Attlee-Truman discussions, 1 million people cram New York Central Park to hear the president outline America's stand on atomic power.
There has been talk about the atomic bomb. We must find the answer to the problems created by the release of atomic energy. Indeed, the highest hope of the American people is that world cooperation for peace will soon reach such a state of perfection that atomic methods of destruction can be definitely and effectively outlawed forever.
Осталось 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Нажатие кнопки, все осветилось ярчайшим.
beyond normal shipping routes they lie, and until 1952, only pearl fishing boats entered the blue waters and left the cliffs surrounding their shores.
This is another victory.
Emergency alert system capabilities.
This is an emergency action notification.
National alert and warning authorities, in coordination with emergency alert system participants.
My fellow Americans, as you know, our attempts at preventing nuclear war have failed.
Finally, Mars has accepted my sacrifices and unleashes me.
I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. Enemy! Enemy! You are my enemy! And I swear total resistance to you with everything I've got. Disingenuous, fake, false, broke back, twisted, a defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil! You will pay. Yeah, you think I don't see your face, scum? You don't think I don't see you? I see you, you understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that? You will fall! You will not bring humanity down! God is going to destroy you!
Check, check. Okay, there we go. What up? What up, Red Mice? How you doing? Popping in saying hello. What up, man? Okay. Asmongold's the devil. You are evil and a Nazi, Hitler, dictator, racist, homophobe. Yeah. I told Kairos the other day, we were talking about Asmongold, and I told him I'm gonna like have my stream titles mention Asmongold in some way going forward. And he gave me this. He gave me the most evil Kairos side eye when I said that, dude. he read that chat and he was like, "What the fuck? Oh my god, you're worse than I thought." Legate. Is this mic fuck seems distorted? Let me see. Check. How about now? Is this better? Okay. Yeah, if it gets fucked up, let me know. I don't know. The cable's kind of wonky here, but yeah, I told when I rated Kairos that the other day, I told him I was gonna name my stream title something like Asmongold knows more about politics or Asmongold is better than you. I told him I was gonna mention Asmongold in my stream title going forward for a little while just to see what kind of people react to it and they pop in because we did get a couple randos last time. But he gave me the most evil Kairos side eye I've ever gotten in my life. he gave me this look like you're worse than I thought. Like you're fucking way worse. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have any plans. I have to get ahead of some work for the morning. It's nothing crazy, but I have to at least get prepared for this meeting. So I just was gonna do some casual stuff and then try to get this work done. So we'll see. We'll see how things go. I'm getting slop to warm up real quick. Little warm up slop. Let's see. Oh, I saw this today. This royally pissed me off. Holy shit.
A Bristol Township woman who falsely accused a stranger of trying to kidnap and rape her is going to jail. Last April, 20-year-old Angela Urumova told police a man grabbed her in a parking lot, punched her, and tried to drag her into his truck. Police traced the man down and arrested him in front of his wife and kids. He spent a month in jail before detectives questioned Urumova about inconsistencies in her story. She then admitted she had never met him, and he never touched her. Urumova will spend at least a month and a half in jail for the false claims. A Bristol Township woman who...
Can you imagine that? Fucking... Let me play this again. I could not believe what I fucking heard when I saw this. You think when we colonize other planets, we will see independence revolution from, let's say, the Martians? Could. Little Mel Gibson style. Little, Mars the Martian, Mel Gibson. What was his character's name in, oh god, what was that movie? There's so many, like, Mel Gibson freedom kind of movies. Not Braveheart with William Wallace, but the one that he actually did about the Revolution, the American Revolution. Yeah, this fucking royally pissed me off.
Who falsely accused a stranger of trying to kidnap and rape her is going to jail. Last April, 20-year-old Angela Urumova told police a man grabbed her in a parking lot, punched her, and tried to drag her into his truck. Police traced the man down and arrested him in front of his wife and kids. He spent a month in jail before detectives questioned Urumova about inconsistencies in her story. She then admitted she had never met him, and he never touched her. Urumova will spend at least a month and a half in jail for the false claims.
That is ridiculous, bro. That guy's life could have been ruined. It probably, well, it's not ruined, but I mean, that kind of stuff is really hard to wash off. And he would have fucking went to jail for a long fucking time. And she gets a month. And she gets a month for almost fucking ruining this guy's life, bro. had false claims levied at me. I also hung out with girls that had joked about how if a man pissed them off, they could just make something up to ruin them and then laughed it off. Best to say I dodge women like that and try to keep away as much as possible. Yeah. You know, that's I never got accused of anything, but I've, like I said, I worked in a strip club, so I've been around a lot of fucking fucked up stuff. And, but, I think but the main thing I take away from it is, that's like a lesson my dad never taught me. My dad never said, hey, look, I'm not saying don't go around not trusting women, okay? But you do have to be careful because there's going to be some women out there that you meet that could do these kinds of crazy things. So you just have to make sure, CYA, cover your ass, right? Try to think with the right head when you can, network and be sure you're around other people when things are popping off, and anything you can do to kind of put yourself in the best position, because this kind of shit does happen. It's not extremely common, but it's crazy to think that, this woman could just fucking get a month in jail for almost sending this guy to jail and ruining his life for years. That's the ridiculous, man. People wonder where my fucking bitter misogynist and sexism comes from. Misogyny and sexism comes from. It's from shit like this, man. Even my mom told me women are crazy and to stay away, be very careful. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think maybe parents are kind of afraid to have those conversations sometimes, but it sounds like your mom was looking out for you. Anyways, that fucking royally pissed me off so much. Oh my god. Here's the potential new Canadian. Well, he is the current, I guess, Canadian Prime Minister, but looks like they're in the midst of some elections at the moment.
Absolutely, Alex Zoltan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're gonna love this one.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
There, in terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
My follow-up question then: do you believe that women, biological women, have the right to their own spaces, their own sports, their own change rooms, their own prisons, their own homeless shelters?
I think this is Canada, and that as a general objective, yes. But we work in where we value all Canadians for who they are, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you very much.
What?
Thank you, merci. Okay.
What? No, that's such a non-answer. What a weirdo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think politicians are going to tiptoe around questions like that for the foreseeable future. At least liberal ones. What else we got here? Oh yeah, Katy Perry went to space. She felt connected to love and the divine feminine energy. I've been getting some starseed bullshit in my algorithm lately, and it's gotten me. It's sent me on paths of internal destruction. I remember when we were going over some starseed stuff back in the day, just being like, what in the fuck? I mean, it was a good time, don't get me wrong. We had some laughs, but somehow, some way, some of this starseed stuff has made its way into my algo. This isn't starseedy, but I mean, the language is, because she talks about being connected to the divine feminine or whatever the fuck that is.
You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch. So I feel really connected to that strong, divine feminine right now.
Let's just summarize this. You launch a bunch of actresses in a penis. You have a girl moaning as it goes off. It's just very weird. And then they talk about divine energy. They bring butterflies. They scream, and it's like when our society has feminine women and masculine men, it's good, and that's very cool. But they have to try to spin the narrative that this was like a feminist launch into the future. And I just don't even believe we've ever really been to outer space necessarily. So I'm still questioning whether we ever went to the moon.
You are officially...
Well, that's another side of it too. These fucking people that think that we didn't go to the moon, or that there's a firmament dome above the planet and whatever. I mean, that's like the Christian version of starseed shit from my perspective. She's not an astronaut. She just went to space. She's a fucking passenger. Yeah, they were in space, I think, for like 10 minutes. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is cool to do that. I'm not going to take that away from them. To be selected to go do that. It's kind of a, it's a cool thing. And it's also a PR play for Blue Origin, or whatever that company's name is. So whatever. I'm not going to hate on that, but to come back down, there's been memes going around today, or the past few days, I guess, whenever they landed, where, it shows her like kissing the ground and everything. And then you realize, like, the people that were, what about that crew that got stuck on the space station for like 9 months? They're like, it'll just be a meme of, somebody looking at somebody crazy, like, and they're supposed to be the crew that was at the space station. Yeah. Anyways, whatever. I don't care. I mean, it's cool that it's cool to go to space. I'm not going to knock that, but this fucking connected to the divine feminine, all this starseed discourse and lingo is fucking gets the blood boiling. Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, there's this. This was fun.
I'm HIV positive, right? And this is just a PSA to those that are not HIV positive. Disclosure is my choice. When I disclose and how I disclose and who I disclose to is up to me. I find it so crazy how people are telling me that I need to disclose before I go on a date, that I need to disclose before I kiss somebody. This is the craziest one. Before I even tell them my name. It's not happening. I don't think that it's my responsibility to tell someone that I'm HIV positive if they are treating me as if I'm not. Your health is your responsibility. Adopt the mindset of medical practitioners. Assume that everyone has something until they prove to you that they do not. Why are you kissing a stranger or trying to kiss a stranger that you just met? Why are you trying to have intercourse with someone raw that you just met? You don't know me from a hole in a wall. Why are you trying to put your thing inside of me without any kind of protection? Why do I have to be the one to say, hey, chill out, I'm HIV positive, instead of you asking, taking the time to know me, get to know me, let's go get tested together if you want to take the next step? Why do I have to be the one protecting you from yourself? No, baby, that is not my responsibility. And I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, love you, bye. I'm HIV positive.
Oh man, I've seen a couple videos like this. There was one that was a little more viral of like this, there was like a gay dude on a podcast with two seemingly women, although they could be non-binary or whatever, saying the same kind of stuff. Like, this guy would like go on a date with other dudes and then bring them back to his place, and then get right up to the line and then say, oh, by the way, I'm HIV. And then they just fucking run out the door. And he's like, I don't need to tell you I'm HIV positive, at the start of the day. I'm like, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. I guess you don't. It's kind of one of those things, though. I don't know. Hot take: gay marriage should be between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman. Based. There you go. That's right. I said it. Nice. I mean, some of what she says is actually pretty true, but it's also on her. Like, if you are HIV positive, it's your responsibility to disclose this. But on the flip side, never assume and always be careful. Those are my swinger face. I made sure everyone was tested. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I gotta be honest. If I knew somebody was HIV positive right off the bat, I would just not go on a date with them. So, but it's one of those things. Like, does somebody owe you that kind of information? I mean, I'm struggling between what the obvious answer is and what the technically correct answer to that is. I don't know. That one exists in like a category where it's like, okay. I guess it's the same thing with gender too. I mean, if someone passes really well, and and then you get right up to the line, and then it's like, hey, I'm trans or whatever. Would you have wanted to know something like that prior to having known them, or having gone out with them? Tricky. I will say though, if you do, if if you're knowing having sexual contact with somebody without disclosing something like that, that's definitely crossing a line. I don't care how protected you are. I mean, it's just, you know, I think that's probably, you know, that's a bit too far. I mean, definitely want to know, and I want to cancel the date, but definitely not going home with you. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Well, would you? Okay, well, Red Maze, if that's the case, would you go on another date with them potentially? Yeah, it's fine. Just not smashing ever. Oh wow. Okay. All right. Well, Red Maze is more on the open-minded side of this. I mean, I got to be honest with you. If I knew, I wouldn't go on a date. I think I would probably cancel though. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a bad person. But if I knew that prior, you know, if the date was arranged and then I found out afterwards that she was like HIV positive, then I'd definitely cancel. You know, if that makes me a bad person, that's fine. I'll own it. But I couldn't do the whole date thing. You know, I would do it, you know, in an adult civil way, but I don't think I could do it. So, Red Maze, you are you are better than me, brother. What else do we got here? Oh, apparently the UK Supreme Court did a thing, and the TERFs are celebrating.
Unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex.
In a landmark decision, the UK Supreme Court has unanimously ruled that trans women are not legally recognised as women under the 2010 Equality Act, defining women strictly by biological sex. This precedent-setting judgment applies across Britain and is poised to shape future sex-based rights cases globally, including right here in Australia.
The central question on this appeal is the meaning of the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010. Do those terms refer to biological women or biological sex? Or is a woman to be interpreted as extending to a trans woman with a gender recognition certificate? By that I mean a person born male who now possesses a gender recognition certificate amending her gender to female, and sex to be interpreted as including what I will refer to as certificated sex. The unanimous decision of this court is that the terms woman and sex in the Equality Act 2010 refer to a biological woman and biological sex.
This ruling was a much-needed win for common sense after 3 courageous Scottish women challenged their government in court, arguing that sex-based protections should exclusively apply to those born female. But the Scottish government tried and failed to claim that trans people holding their government-issued gender recognition certificate should enjoy the same sex-based rights as biological women. However, thankfully, the court decisively rejected this, ruling that the government lacks the authority to redefine biological reality, affirming that sex-based protections are reserved for those born female. If you're thrilled about this ruling like I am, show your support. Like, comment, and
A lot of people I heard, I guess over the Facebooks and the Twitters today, were basically saying that the only reason this even happens is because, you know, what do we got, like a third of the population, and I guess in the I don't know what the actual percentages are, but you know, ballpark third of the percentage of the population in the UK being Muslim. You know, the number one baby name in the whole of the UK, and I think even Ireland as well, has been like Muhammad for the past year or two. I don't know. There's been a lot of people saying, yeah, well, that's because there's lots of Muslims over there. You know, what's up, Malibu? How you doing? Welcome in. I don't know, but I know J.K. Rowling was super stoked about it on the old Twitter. Lots of people sharing her tweet today, and either celebrating it or crucifying it. England is the only Western Muslim country. Sweden has entered the chat. We'll see. I don't know. That's what other people were saying. Other people were. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying a lot of the discourse from the right, just having taken a broad temperature of it, was the only reason it happened is because they have very large percentage populations of Muslims, of Islam enthusiasts. What else we got here? Oh man, I think I found the king of the incels. Holy shit. I don't know how this guy stumbled into my algo, but maybe it's just because I have like a lot of video game stuff. This guy, I went to his page, he hit like the caption under his name on his page says, "I love video games and I've been playing video games my whole life and I love video games more than everything," or something like that. And that's all it says. But he is the fucking I watched a couple of his reels on Instagram, and I was like, man, this guy is the king of the incels. Holy shit.
Good morning, everybody. It's 2 weeks till Easter. I'm actually having a blessed time in my personal fandom and my personal actual energy pool. And I just gotta say that the fact that everybody just keeps crawling into my comment section is music to my ears. But I'm gonna go back to what I said before, and I'm gonna say this again. I do not need women in my life to be happy. I do not. I've been happy without a single female in my life for 20 years. I can do that for my entire life. Women are not needed in this life for men to be happy. That is a misconception. Anybody who says that is being brainwashed and is absolutely on crack. Because I have lived 20 years without a single bitch fucking up my life, and I love it. And I love it so much that I'm just going to keep spreading that joy of no female contact forever. And I am going to be quite serious about that because I am not joking. I will never have another bitch in my life to fuck away from my video games. No way in hell. The first bitch that does that goes her head right through the window. That is my promise. So, females, you can keep trying to crawl into my comment section, but it ain't gonna work because you ain't gonna get shit. But, you guys are all low IQ, so I can't really say what a woman would and would not understand. You people are dumb as rocks. That's fine with me. But, the dumber you are, the harder you fall. And that is a promise.
I need Mida, summoning Mida, yeah. Yeah, if Mida comes back, I'll replay that one. But, yeah, that's that guy's the king of the incels, man. But he's like the lowly sewer-dwelling incel, right? Then you have like the bourgeois ivory tower incel, which is more like a Nick Fuentes type. And then you have this guy, which is just like a fucking sewer dweller incel, bro. Like, this guy's the epitome of fucking mom's basement. Holy shit. But I did drop him a follow because I was like, you know what? I'm curious what this guy's journey is going to be all about. I want to have more videos like this in my algo just to be able to share them with you all. Oh man, that guy, yeah. What do we got? What do we got? What else do we got here?
I had like 8 abortions in total. We listen, but we don't judge. I had 2 abortions this year.
I would have got the fuck out that room with them Jeffrey Dahmers. 8, and you had 2 this year. Bitch, it's March. Y'all ain't shit. You the definition of ain't shit. I gotta keep it real. Fuck all that. Man, y'all ain't shit. I ain't talking, and I'm not like y'all. I'm not gonna go in no live and put it on every fucking black woman. I'm gonna put it on them 2 bitches right there. They ain't shit. I mean shit. 8. And you just had 2 this year. Boy, y'all had a whole NBA roster with the fucking subs. You just killed Jeter Shuttlesworth. You could have possibly had on LeBron. Why you just don't close your legs, baby? Y'all ain't shit.
I had like 8 abortions in total.
Yeah, this one kind of goes with that. There's a woman who was filmed celebrating outside of the abortion clinic, and she takes a swig of Bacardi from someone who's operating a motor vehicle, by the way, and they're just kind of like having the time of their life because of the abortion that was just had.
Fuck the baby. What the baby? What the baby? Fuck the baby. Fuck the baby. Give you the Bacardi. I'm ready to say fuck the motherfucker. Ready to beat the motherfucking baby the fuck up. You sound like a nigga. Yo. Fuck the baby. What the baby? What the baby? Fuck the.
I mean, that to me is just fucking sick. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I mean, you know, whatever. I don't usually touch abortion because you're on one side or the other, right? For me, somebody asked me what is abortion, I'd say it's a medical procedure. I think that women should have access to it up to a certain point, and then after that, I don't think that it should be an option unless it's an emergency. And if that's the most vanilla fucking take about abortion you've ever heard, I could fucking care less. I could care less, man. I don't need to have some fucking ultra Christian right-wing view on it, and I don't need to have some ultra fucking my body, my choice kind of view on it. I'm happy with it being somewhere in the middle. What else we got here? Some throwback racism right here. I came across a cool page that had like a lot of archived South Florida content, which kind of spoke to me because I was raised in Miami. But this is from like 1985, I want to say, and there was a big influx of Haitian migrants and refugees into South Florida at the time. But fucking South Florida is like South Florida is a mix of a lot of things, because you have obviously a huge Caribbean presence there. Miami is not even America. Okay, I'll just put it that way. It's fucking North Cuba. But Broward County, where Fort Lauderdale is a mix. You got like a lot of rednecks, and you got a lot of it's a mix between blacks, rednecks, and Cuban Caribbean mix. And then less so the further north you get, like Palm Beach County. That's where Mar-a-Lago is. That's where a lot of rich white people are. That's where also the island boys live or are from. so whatever. I mean, you do still have that kind of that South Florida vibe infused in a little bit, but there is a shit ton of rednecks down there. It is Florida. You have to remember that. The only thing really to like recognize about South Florida is that Miami is not America, and then outside of that, all the rules basically still apply. But these were some good old boys that did not give a fuck. You could tell this is definitely before cancel culture became a thing.
On one side of the street, Haitians chanting and protesting against radio station WAVS. Across the street, Broward residents protesting the presence of Haitians in their community.
Wherever they're from, we want them to go back there. We don't want them in this town.
And in the middle, Davie police and worried...
Yeah, we already watched that, didn't we, Malibu? That was that Romanian giant fucking palace that was built or whatever. Yeah, we watched that.
Justice Department officials trying to keep the peace.
The department's position is to assure that everyone's right is protected here.
Using their cars, police, roadblocks, and horses, they work to keep the two sides apart.
The Haitian numbers have stayed right around the same. The first week they had a little over 100, last week about 85, this week a few more maybe. It's the other crowd that has grown a little bit. So far, hopefully they will keep it under control as well.
Some Davie residents brought their pit bulls, pickup trucks, and circulated Ku Klux Klan newspapers, all to try to convince the Haitians to leave.
Protesting and doing these things on our streets, I feel, is beautiful.
You think that they don't have a right to be here because you say they don't have money and jobs? Yeah. How do you know that?
Because we know what they're doing so far. Probably they got AIDS or what?
Oh my God, bro. They probably got AIDS or what? And this lady says, that sounds a little racist. And he says...
Racist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Racist?
Yeah.
After
he just goes, yeah. He just says, yeah. Yeah, it is.
several hours, the Haitians left quietly without incident. Davie police were saying they were glad they didn't have to rely on a passing thunderstorm to cool down flaring tempers. Meantime, Davie residents promise they'll be back in force again next week.
That guy at the end is like, it's America. Yeah. At least the racism back in the 80s was civil. There was a lot of, we'll be over here, you be over there, we'll yell at each other, but we're not going to do a whole, song and dance about getting violent right now. Or maybe there was some violence, I don't know, but don't worry about the honest resist. What's up? What's up, Onion? Onion. What else we got here? Oh, Asmongold. There he is, right here.
You can be groomed for sure. No, and that's a good point, right? Is that that's why I said as an adult, is because if you're a kid and you get fed a lot of propaganda and messaging, I feel like every trans kid is actually a victim of a parent with a mental illness. That's what I believe. And so I really, and this, you got a kid that's 17, right? I mean, it's a little bit more, it's not really as definitive. But if you have a kid that's pre-puberty and they're trans, your parents have a mental illness. That's it. You can be groomed for sure. No, and that's
Bro, he backed away from the mic like he just dropped a bomb on everybody. He just went. Oh, thank you for asking, Onyo. I'm good. How you doing? This is going to be I don't know how long I'm going to be streaming because I got some work I got to do. I'm just kind of doing a slop warm-up session real quick, but I got some meetings in the morning that I need to prepare for, so I kind of wanted to just do two birds, one stone and get my ducks in a row for this thing I'm working on, and at the same time, just stream a little bit. So, I mean, I'm probably just going to be watching some stuff that's going to be in the background, maybe some panels or debates or whatever. Nothing crazy. But how are you? What's going on? Thanks for coming in. I don't think Asmongold is correct there. His take, I believe, if I have it right, his take was every trans child of a parent belongs to a parent that's mentally ill, I think, or something like that. I think it was that. I don't think that's correct. Now, I will say, if you see some of these celebrities, who was it? Charlize Theron. I don't know. There's a couple of celebrities where they have multiple kids that are trans or gender nonconforming. That is a statistical anomaly because it's already incredibly rare to experience gender dysphoria or have a desire to want to go one way or another in terms of gender. Just the numbers on that is it's not in the favor of just have you know what kind of numbers you have to crush in life to get 3 trans kids. That's got to be insane numbers. But the fact that there are these celebrities out there that have multiple kids makes you wonder, like, there's got to be something else going on here. You know, it's likely something involved with the lifestyle, the parenting choices involved. But I don't think he's correct in that every parent of a trans child is mentally ill or something like that. Whatever his take was there. Yeah, what's up, Maida? Oh shit, there you are. No, NOK wanted me to show you this this incel guy that I found. I found the king of the incels, and I'm happy to play it again. This guy is off the charts. But the moment I played this, NOK was like, "Oh, we gotta get Maida in here." So, yeah, this guy. The caption for his video says, or the caption, embedded in the video says, "How much IQ do you need to understand? Fuck off, ladies. LOL." But it's great, man. This is an all-time rant right here. This is really good.
Good morning, everybody. It's 2 weeks till Easter. I'm actually having a blessed time in my personal fandom and my personal actual energy pool. And I just gotta say that the fact that everybody just keeps crawling into my comment section is music to my ears. But I'm gonna go back to what I said before, and I'm gonna say this again. I do not need women in my life to be happy. I do not. I've been happy without a single female in my life for 20 years. I can do that for my entire life. Women are not needed in this life for men to be happy. That is a misconception. Anybody who says that is being brainwashed and is absolutely on crack. Because I have lived 20 years without a single bitch fucking up my life, and I love it. And I love it so much that I'm just going to keep spreading that joy of no female contact forever. And I am going to be quite serious about that because I am not joking. I will never have another bitch in my life to fuck away from my video games. No way in hell. The first bitch that does that goes her head right through the window. That is my promise. So, females, you can keep trying to crawl into my comment section, but it ain't gonna work because you ain't gonna get shit. But, you guys are all low IQ, so I can't really say what a woman would and would not understand. You people are dumb as rocks. That's fine with me. But, the dumber you are, the harder you fall. And that is a promise. Good.
Based on the gap in those front teeth, I assume he knows what crackheads think, considering he probably is one. I don't know. He seems so, homely that I don't know if he's like a crackhead. It could be. I was the way I was just describing it after we watched it was he's like there's like 2 class of incel seemingly. There's like your sewer dwelling incel, which is probably more like this guy, and then you have like your bourgeois ivory tower incel, which is more like a Nick Fuentes type. But this guy sounds like the definition of mom's basement, hands down. But his whole, I followed him because I was like, I gotta get this guy in my algo. I gotta see more of this stuff. It's gonna be hilarious just having some of this saved so I could show you guys. But see, I get mistaken for an incel because I'm a misogynist. Yeah, I guess so. Probably. I mean, I've never been called an incel, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody heard some of my opinions about the relations of the sexes. If they would probably not like my opinions. They probably, I can imagine someone being like, "Oh, okay, that sounds kind of incel coded or whatever." But no, it's definitely more misogyny or sexism, for sure. But I describe my brand of misogyny as good misogyny. I think there's like good misogyny and bad misogyny. There's the kind of misogyny that just, thinks that not much has really changed in the way men and women relate, or how they want to relate. There definitely has been a change in the way they relate, but I don't think that there has been a real change in the way that they want to relate to each other. You know, I think, and I think this is one thing, you know, people can shit on, you know, the fucking red pill dating podcast scene all they want. I'm totally fine with that. But you know, one thing they get right is that like there's this kind of like one message that a lot of their discussions revolve around, which is like, you know, men are protectors and providers, and women, you know, provide peace and pleasure and things like that. You know, like whatever that equation is. And I think that's the good misogyny. I think that men and women still do want those things. It's just the world around us has changed so much that it's hard to see what that means anymore. I have a lot of people call me, and so I get people to say shit like it's good to use this like talking and to meeting new women because women will never touch you. Like, good bitch, I don't fucks with women. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Did you match Musel women against average Joes? Musel women? What's Musel women? You have to let me know what that is. I love my wife. She's my best friend and the best thing that ever happened to me. There you go. You lucked out. You lucked out. I mean, to be fair too, I wouldn't even blame someone if even after they heard something I said about men and women and how they relate, if they called me an incel, and then, you know, on top of that, it's like I'm in my 40s and I'm still single with no kids. I consider that a blessing. You know, my family was riddled with fucking divorce and court and legal fees and drama and violence and everything that ties back to divorce. And it was so traumatic for me when I was growing up that I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let relationships or anything like that get in the way of me checking off the boxes that I want to check off in life. You know, now I'm at a point where I've checked off most of those boxes, so I'm happy to settle down. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, but good luck finding a woman your age, because most of them they're either baby mamas or they're divorced with kids or they have a ton of baggage or whatever. And I don't have a ton of baggage. I don't have kids. I don't have fucking, you know, child support or alimony. You know, my retirement is intact. You know, these are things that are good as far as I'm concerned. Muscle. Okay, Muscle. Yeah, Nudity. What's up, Nudity? How you doing? Yeah, that one. Do you watch Muscle Women Against Average Joes? No, I don't. I don't watch that. What is that a show? Or is that some kind of a genre of content? I've never seen anything like that. Let's just do a few more, and then I gotta get into what I was working on here. To be honest, when I was in a 7-year-long relationship with a woman, I was engaged and I thought I was happy. Then I got my heart broken. Met another woman. We jumped into a relationship and moved in together. And like 3 months after we met, she cheated on me, and I took it hard look at myself and said, I've always found men attractive, but I've never dated men. And to this fucking day, I've not looked back. Okay. Yeah, it's the way she goes. Mustle. 3 fit women against 3 average Joes. No, I've not seen that. I'm not sure if that is. But I mean, you know, I guess the long and short of that one is if the fit women, you know, destroy the average Joes in some kind of, you know, muscle competition or strength, fucking whatever, then okay, great. You know. Let's see. What else we got here? Oh, here's another. Well, I guess this is so we were talking about abortion earlier too. This is the opposite of abortion. This blew my mind when you hear what this lady says at the end of this video. You're gonna be like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, bro. They won one. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, listen to what this lady says at the end of this video.
I don't have any clothes. People been donating food just around here, just helping me out with food, and I don't have anything.
We called the Department of Children and Families to see what they've been doing to help. DCF says Hillsborough Kids Incorporated has been helping by paying Adams rent, even providing her furniture. Adams says it isn't enough.
Well, it's in case you can't see it, it says woman has 15 children and got evicted. Now she wants the government/welfare office to help her more than they already are.
Somebody needs to pay for all my children and mine and Gary, all our suffering, all our pain. Somebody needs to be held accountable, and they need to pay.
DCF Regional Director.
Can you imagine saying that? Somebody needs to pay for all these children, okay? Somebody needs to be held accountable, and they need to pay. Bro, you're the one that had the kids, bro. What the fuck are you talking about, man? How the fuck she got that many young kids? Does she just pop them out like one after the other? Apparently, yeah. It's like, I've seen some videos where it's like, I was pregnant at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and I'm pregnant right now. So I can't wait to take your tax dollars and fucking go to Walmart, you know, whatever. I guess it's one of those kind of situations.
Director Nick Cox wanted to see.
But it's so crazy for her to say someone needs to be held accountable. Bro, you should be held accountable, man.
For himself, the situation that Adams now finds herself in.
I don't have any clothes.
Asmongold is better than who? Yeah, he lives in total filth and squalor. I don't know, but what's up, current thing? How you doing? That's the point of having a title like that, is to bring the people in. People cannot resist being told that Asmongold is better than them in some way. So they have to come in and tell me something about Asmongold, right? So I will say, if you fell for the bait, I don't blame you. But it's really just to kind of bring people in, kind of pissed off. That there's been a few streams now where I've had like an Asmongold title, and people come in like just instantly raging, like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Asmongold doesn't know shit about politics. He's fucking horrible." Blah 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 blah. Clickbait. Well, it worked. I know exactly. That was the point. So, welcome in. Current thing. I want to say, are you in Chud Logic stream ever? I want to say I might have seen you in Chud's chat once in a while. Or maybe it was Casey or Gorp or somebody like more in our neighborhood.
Finally, Mars has accepted my sacrifices and unleashes me.
Yo, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Legion. Yeah, I think I've seen you in, I've been in his stream before. I want to say I've probably seen you in Chud's chat. Gorp, what's a Gorp? Gorp is a Gorp. Where is Gorp? Gorp's on my other scene, but Gorp's another streamer. Yeah, it was probably Chud's. I think it was probably Chud's chat. Did a 1v4 conservatives recently on Pentuple's panel. Not to be cocky, but I want. Is there a VOD for that? I would love to watch it if there is. I would say I'm not gonna watch it right now because like I said, I'm just gonna be having something on in the background while I work. But is there a VOD for that? Bought a subscriber lock. Fuck. Okay. Was anybody else streaming it that would have been on the panel that they might have VOD of, or was it just Discord journeymen and women? Average debate enjoyer was, but I don't know. Okay. Cool. Well, we could check that out at some point if there is a VOD for it. New York Trump supporter calls out annoying protesters outside Trump Tower. We, the American people, thank you, sir.
You guys gotta get a fucking life.
Get life. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hey, sir. Fucking jerk off.
Sir, can I ask you a question for YouTube? Sir, can I ask you a question for YouTube? I'm pressed. I'm pressed.
Get these clowns out of here. They're a fucking clown. This guy Biden's sleeping. He shits his pants. You don't see that shit, you dope.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You guys are fucking joking. This city's turning to shit. And I bet you're gonna vote for horrible fucking Hochul.
Right, Hochul. And AOC. And fucking AOC. Fuck AOC.
You don't like that shit, right?
AOC.
Fuck out of here, man. These people are clowns.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Fucking left wing.
Thank you.
Jerk off. And a vote for Hochul is a vote for horrible. Look at you. Say nothing. Nothing. I didn't think so.
Yeah, this seems to be an old video. Or maybe it's not. I don't know. I guess Hochul's up for re-election soon. She took over for Andrew Cuomo.
My name's Adam Francisco on YouTube.
Fucking horrible. You can put it anywhere you want, big guy. These people are jokers. They don't know what's going on. They're ruining this city. Left-wing jerk-offs. Indict Jim Jordan. Are you serious? Yeah, you're great.
Indict Chuck Schumer.
Exactly. What kind of Jew is Chuck Schumer? He gets abused from the squad and says nothing. What a joke he is. Right. You people are fucking hypocrites. You know what? I'm gonna take a shit later and wipe my ass and think of you people. Because you're ruining this fucking city. Yeah, you're laughing, jerk off.
Get a better president.
You're fucking laughing, you fucking clown, you woke idiot. You're a woke idiot. You're a woke idiot. You're all woke idiots. You know, I got it.
I will say, I wanna fucking clip that and turn that into a sound alert. That part right there.
Job. I got money. You're laughing, jerk off. You're standing in front of a building. You a hypocrite. You're a fucking jerk off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 jerk offs.
I mean, as someone who lived in New York for 7 years, I could say that that kind of interaction is not very common because it's illegal. It's illegal to be publicly Republican or conservative in the city. It's absolutely illegal. I lost so many friends after 2016, and that was right before I joined the Army. That's when I was still living in New York. But I was pretty vocal about my support for Trump during that election, and you know, I got called out in group text by friends calling me racist, and I'm just like, okay, you know, you're gonna call me racist in front of all of our friends here, but I fucking speak Spanish. I've only lived in major cities around all kinds of cultures and diversity, and I speak Spanish, so I'm bilingual, right? You can take all that in consideration and still call me racist. Then I guess, you know, we just weren't as good friends as I thought. Staten Island Invader, yeah, that guy's definitely from the island, man. He got off the ferry, bro. He got off the ferry and said, "Fuck it, I'm fucking going by the tower and causing some shit." If you use the word woke as someone on the right, you're kind of just admitted you have no real thing you're upset about. You're just angry. Yeah, I think so too. I think that, you know, I thought about that recently in the way, you know, like just like the way that I think about slurs. I don't use slurs, and I don't like slurs, man. I think that probably all slurs can be used in a funny way to bridge gaps and make people laugh. I think there's probably a comedic in the toolbox of comedy. I think slurs can be useful, because it can highlight certain things, right? You're not actually using the word to direct at someone, but you're talking about the word. But outside of that, outside of its useful context, I fucking hate slurs. I can't stand them. And I thought like, but why does it bother me? You know, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, what is somebody achieving when they use a slur? You know, they're not really achieving anything. All you're really doing is signaling to somebody something about the way you think of the world. You know, in the same way that people on the right will shame people on the left for virtue signaling, I think you could probably shame people on the right for vice signaling, right? Especially with using slurs and stuff like that. And I guess, you know, calling things woke, you know, with such a broad brush like that is probably part of that whole vice signaling kind of thing. It's probably not as bad as a fucking, you know, a hard R N-bomb, you know, but still, it's kind of like, it's just in that neighborhood of useless shit that we do that only signals to the other person how we view the world, basically. You know, or how shitty of a person are we? Or how shitty, well, a vice signal is probably more of how shitty of a person we think you are. And a virtue signal is how good of a person we view ourselves as. So I don't know if there's some kind of like weird backwards inverse relationships there, but I don't know, you know, like woke and slurs and things like that, to me, like all that is very like vice signally, and it's just not I just don't know what it accomplishes. I will say, I think the word woke can be useful. I think there's probably is some utility to the word, but we just probably never take advantage of what its actual utility is for. You wandered around and shouted at people like a lunatic on the street. I suppose it'll remain a mystery why you lost friends in 2016. I didn't do that. I wasn't like that guy. I wasn't like that guy. I just shared like some random anti-SJW content in 2015 and posted some articles on Facebook. I wasn't doing what that guy was doing. Everyone needs to be called a name? Okay, there you go. It's like when the left call you a Nazi or a fascist. Yeah, it's in that same ballpark. What else we got? Oh, speaking of racism, I give no shits what you call me. Same here. I don't care what you call me. I'm too old to fucking care, man. I'm too old and too happy with my accomplishments in life to give a fuck what anybody, literally there's nothing you could say that would fucking piss me off. You could talk about my mom, you could talk about whatever. I could care fucking less. Too old. I'm too old for this shit. But this is apparently the most racist man in America.
If Michelle Obama ran, why would you vote for her?
Elections is over. We got the orange now. We don't need nobody else.
Whoa. You really hate Trump. Do you hate Trump more than Kamala Harris?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's just a white traitor. I hate traitors first. He's selling out the country to anybody.
Meaning?
He's going to send Americans to die for real. Let them fight their own fucking war to steal the country.
Are you Jewish?
No, hell no. Damn a country they haven't been kicked out of.
Who?
Jews.
I don't know.
That's it. No one knows a country they haven't been kicked out of. Again and again and again. Don't want them in my country. It would be nice if they could build their own. They will get on social media and say, my fellow white people, we have to atone for racism. And then when it comes time for the bill to be paid, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. Every single time. They need their own Jewish state as far away from mine as possible.
Okay, so that goes back to it. Would you rather somebody black or Jewish move next to you?
Would you rather have someone pluck out your right eye or your left eye?
If Michelle Obama ran, why would you vote for her?
Well, actually,
oh man, I've seen a bunch of videos with these two guys, the white racist guy and the black guy. They have like this fun interview kind of dynamic with each other. They have a couple interviews out there that are pretty funny. Seen Martin Scorsese Netflix documentary Pretend to Say? No, I haven't. I have not. You should move to West Bank as a settler. There you go. Yeah. I would come over and fuck your wife a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, help me out, current thing. What else do we got here? Let me like one or two more. Let's see.
So the patriarchy is like a man having his boot on a woman's neck. Feminism is women asking that the boot be removed. Men's rights activists think that having to take their boot off a woman's neck is some sort of reverse oppression. Conservatives figure that there was never a problem with the boot being on the neck until the woman started complaining about it, and if everybody would just shut the fuck up, things would be fine. Good guys take any complaint about the boot as a personal attack because not all men wear boots. Male allies try to discuss the issue in a way without alienating the boot. Women with internalized misogyny don't know why these other women are complaining about the boot on their neck. They love having the boot on their neck, and there's something wrong with the women who complain. Meanwhile, the boot stays on the fucking neck.
None of this is going to matter pretty soon. Once Andrew Tate becomes president.
So,
that guy's an incel too. He's like a Nick Fuentes doppelganger type. What do you keep sipping for an idiot? What's up, XN? How you doing? What are you talking? Are you talking? Is that ironic or unironic? Are you talking to me or somebody else? What else we got here? Oh, speaking of slurs, stream title. Oh yeah. No, it's just rage bait. We get people coming in as soon as they see Asmongold, and then whatever I say about Asmongold, they come in and they immediately are like, it's just rage bait. It's just meant to. We already got one current thing came in because of the stream title. Last stream we had a couple randos come in just to kind of express their opinions about him. It's all about engagement. Effective advertising. Rage baiting in 4K, exactly. Speaking of slurs, I guess this is an old Ricky Gervais bit.
Cultural appropriation. Have you heard of that? Cultural appropriation. The latest no-no. Now, again, in my day, it was considered a good thing to swap ideas with other cultures, with other nations, to share things with other races, to assimilate. It was the opposite of racist. Now it's racist. Gwen Stefani got in trouble in her last video because she had her blonde hair in dreadlocks. People go, no, black people invented dreadlocks, you can't have them, you're white, that's racist. Jamie Oliver got in trouble when he put out authentic jerk chicken recipe. People go, no, black people invented that, you can't have it, you're white, that's racist. Now, black people, they use the N-word, don't they? We invented that.
Friendly Woods interview. We'll have to. I'll put that in the playlist, the Today playlist. I can't get to it today because it's, you know, like I said, I'm not even going to be paying attention to whatever I play after this. You know, it's going to be passive listening as I work on some stuff that I need to get ready for my meeting tomorrow morning. So, we can check. I'll put it in the playlist. I think I have a few other videos. of yours that are in the playlist. All right, one more good one. What's another good one? Excuse me. Yeah, you gotta end it on a classic. End it on a classic right here.
Last question for you guys. What is a woman?
That sounds like a loaded.
Yeah, don't talk to that. Why is it such a complicated question?
Because most of the time when people ask that, they're not asking that to be genuine, they're asking it to be bigoted.
Well, it's a genuine question because it's...
Well, to me, my personal opinion is that a woman is somebody who was either born a woman or somebody who identifies as a woman.
And what do you need to do to identify as a woman?
I mean, that's not up to me. I'm not transgender. I just fight for people who are, so...
I guess my question, though, is if I wanted to be a woman, could I be?
I mean, if you felt like you were a girl, yeah.
And you could just change your gender based off how you feel.
I mean, yeah.
Do you think that's what the science says?
Yes, it is, actually.
That's what the science says?
Yes, sir.
Well, someone is not watching real news. Last question.
Dress as Kratos this Halloween, do a God of War stream. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. Man, the thing is, I played. I think the only God of War I ever played was like the first God of War, and that was when I had. Did that come out for PS2? I want to say. Was that like a late PS2 or early PS3 game? I want to say I've only played one because I once I got my 360, it was like no more PlayStation. I did have a PS3, but I never played it. I was always playing either COD, Fallout, or Gears of War, or Halo, or something. God of War 2018 Ragnarok. I consider it one of the best depictions of father-son dynamic and positive masculinity. Okay. Yeah, I've seen people play some of that father-son God of War stuff before. It does look really cool, but I don't think I was watching long enough to absorb any of the story. PC Master Race, yeah. Well, that's what I play now. Although I have been playing I have a 10-year-old Halo 5 edition Xbox One in my living room that I recently just kind of dusted off and started playing. Last weekend I was playing Skyrim. The weekend before that I was playing Fallout 4. And just kind of like disengaging from my PC and streaming and all that. I've had no desire to fucking stream. I don't know what it is. I just fucking like, you know, I've been doing this for a couple years now, and I'm just at a point where I have so much screen time between work and my phone and everything where I'm like, do I want is it going to be worth filling more hours of my day with fucking streaming? And sometimes I'm just like, fuck it, I'll just play Fallout 4 on my Xbox and hang out in the living room. Okay. Let's see. It's 5 minutes. Okay. There's a few of them here. Is it Bizarre? Which one is it? I mean, I've seen this woman before, for sure. Hell, I might have even served her at a restaurant I used to work at. She looks like super familiar. But I've definitely seen her in terms of like media in general. Dad of War, yeah. I think it's heavily taking gamer notes for what made Legend of Zelda great and the OG God of War stuff, right? Okay, cool. If it's on sale, I'll definitely check it out. Don't talk to us. You're meant to do something. No, that was for yeah, Bizarre. Okay, yeah.
If people would try to look better. I'm Fran Lebowitz, here to discuss the concept of now.
This is your main camera, A.
Okay, let me assure you, I will not look in it. Now, it's a pretty limited subject. I know people think it's gigantic, that it's an art form, but it's not. I'm very interested in clothes, which is what fashion is supposed to be about. The same stuff comes.
This lady is like the quintessential archetype of every, you know, in the know, busy New York woman that I would interact with as a server or bartender in New York, hands down. Like gallery owners, art critics, marketing executives, things like that. Like this woman is all of those women wrapped into one. I can already tell.
Back all the time because there's really.
She only eats at restaurants. Exactly. Like I'm saying, I probably have served this woman before. I was in hospitality for 10 years. When I was in New York, that was 2010. I got out of it in 2014. The industry. So 4 of the 10 years I was doing in New York. At multiple different venues, like, you know, contemporary restaurants, you know, overpriced midtown Italian restaurants, you know, all kinds of places. And I guarantee, like, the chances are really high that I've actually served this woman before.
A very small number of things.
And you know what? I respect it. Only eating at restaurants, I respect it.
Things you can do with shoes, okay? And that's why you keep saying the ones that look really new, you can't wear. I don't mean you, I mean anyone. They're unwearable. They're even meant to be unwearable. Even a model cannot even walk in them, okay? There used to be this idea that adults dress differently than children, all right? So that is very largely not true anymore, especially with men. I would prefer not to see, you know, 50-year-old men in shorts. Okay, if you want to see a 50-year-old man in shorts, that should be your personal choice. That should not be in general. When you do see men that are well-dressed, you notice them too much, and that's because it's rare. I mean, it's not a tragedy, you know, but I think it would perk the place up if people would try to look better and let me decide, okay? I would decide. People are suffused with nostalgia, which is, I think, one of the most destructive things there is in the world. The odd thing is how many kids, by which I mean people in their 20s, have nostalgia for an era they didn't even live through, or nostalgia for 100 years ago, which is what the politicians in the United States have. Someone keeps saying, well, these people, meaning these politicians, want to bring us back to the 1950s, but that is not true. They want to bring 1850s, okay? Which is too far back to go. Now, I don't have any of these modern devices. I don't have a smartphone, a cell phone, a computer, a Wi-Fi connection in my apartment. If you told me I could text on a microwave oven, I would believe you. But I am aware of the effect of the internet, which is suffocating. But everyone asks me all the time, you know, are you afraid of AI? Not understanding things is helpful to not being worried. I have to point that out. I'm more worried about human intelligence than I am worried about artificial intelligence. I have found revenge in my own life to be totally satisfying. Any time I've been able to wreak vengeance on someone, I have found it to be delightful. So here's the thing about that. You cannot watch the news. It doesn't mean it's not happening. It's happening whether you watch it or not. When Donald Trump entered politics in 2016, I developed a habit I never had in my life, which is the second I would walk in my apartment, I'd turn on TV. And someone asked me once, why do you do that? I said, because I've been out of the apartment for 5 hours. We could be at war with Sweden. Who knows? So this stuff is junk. Also, in a way, people my age are almost the last generation of people with stuff at all. No one has stuff anymore. You know, they don't have books, they don't have records, they don't have really many clothes, or they may have many clothes, but they all look alike to me. I'm not suggesting that many people can afford very expensive clothes. I know that they can. But many people can afford better clothes. Many people could buy one thing that might cost as much as 6 the other things, but it'll last longer and it will look good. I stopped going to fashion shows years ago. Okay, so one thing about fashion shows used to be small. When things are big, they're worse. Okay, it's just as simple as that. Someone said to me, these people, they call people friends they've never met. Is that a friend? To me, that would not be a friend. Well, I'm not saying that they're not really connected. I'm saying it's not my idea of it. People get into sex scandals who never had sex. Okay, this to me is hilarious. I don't know if you remember Anthony Weiner. He was in a sex scandal that ruined his life, but he didn't have sex. So I thought, it's not worth being in a real sex scandal.
That's crazy to think, yeah. Anthony Weiner ruined his fucking life, and he didn't even get any sex from it. That's fucking crazy to think.
But this is really not worth it.
Ruined his life, but not RFK Jr.
Well, RFK Jr., here's the thing. If you can turn it around, he's going to ruin your life.
I know.
Okay? So if you can turn around Bobby Kennedy, who I used to be friends with before he went insane, Bobby Kennedy is going to have a terrible effect on your life, okay, and everyone's life. I know it seems like a long time. Still, for Harper's Bazaar, thank you.
Yeah, she seems really interesting. She would be the kind of person that I would definitely like try to tune into and pick their brain a little bit if I was actually serving them. She could talk about a bunch of things like that. Like I thought I like her vibe. Her vibe is cool. And definitely a quintessential New Yorker type. So you are right. You are right about that, Malibu. Pretty sure fashion was better in the 1850s. 1850s is a good start, but we can always do better. Yeah, what's up, Shang? How you doing? Yep. All right. What kind of a slop do I got for you guys? What kind of slop is out there? Oh, Vanguard. Vanguard was talking about...
But it is interesting to see...
Vanguard was talking about TYT, Imagine My Shock. Let's do that. It's only like 10 minutes long.
But it is interesting to see, like, who are they at their heart? And I think Cenk, and I say this, he's probably going to see this because Hank's going to clip it. It's going to be a whole thing.
Shout out
like,
to Hank.
I say this with, like also some care. Cenk is...
The Vanguard will be there, sir.
Yeah, so shout out to Olay. She had us back on
Olay and Chill. Everyone check out the full conversation. I'm sure you can find that. It's called Why Cenk Uygur Fired Francesca, live on TYT and banter from the network. We had the opportunity of joining this conversation with Olay and Francesca, obviously two good friends of the show, and got a little bit spicy. Francesca took the opportunity to spill even a little bit more tea, and shared some details about Cenk specifically that I found to be downright hilarious. Yeah, let's take a look.
I think that's good. I think it's due diligence.
It is good. Yeah.
I think it's due diligence to do pop culture. It's fine. Yeah, okay.
Just a little context right there. I also think it's good to do pop culture. Gavin and I just had a little good pop culture back and forth right here. I was just talking about how Cenk likes to pretend that they've been doing progressive media for a long time, and much of the early work that TYT was doing was not so much dedicated to the progressive cause.
Some of the some of the stuff could be maybe salacious and misogynistic, whatever. But I'm not gonna ream them over that.
Sure.
But it is interesting to see who are they at their heart. And I think Cenk, and I say this, he's probably gonna see this because Hank's gonna clip it. It's gonna be a whole thing.
Shout out to Hank.
I say this with also some care. Cenk is fairly delusional, and I just want to make sure everyone kind of knows that. And just another story that I have, because again, anyone who's built what he's built, I have some admiration for. Anyone who, recently, one of the last private conversations we had was about going on Piers Morgan. I had a bad performance once and I was like, man, should I keep going on this? He was like, yes, you got to do it. So, we've had conversations that have been cordial. I respect the guy. And when I didn't respect him, I made sure, guys, I never tweeted at him. I never made videos about him. I never said shit about shit until I said, come on my show, we'll have it out. And then from there, yes, I clipped up that video. Yes, I then made a short video that kind of mocked how he was wrong.
You said his brain was broken? Come on.
Yes, I did say his brain was broken.
Offensive.
But I do think, look, my brain was broken after the 2024 election, but I'm not to the point where I'm going right. But one of the times that he was running for Congress, second time he ran for Congress, was... No, yeah, whatever.
I think he only ran for Congress once. The second time it was for president.
The time he ran for Congress when the impeachment was going on.
Oh, Christy Smith, yeah.
So he was literally said to me with a straight face, he goes, can you imagine? I win and they ask me to present the articles of impeachment to Donald Trump. That's gonna just can you imagine that?
He's wild.
And I was just like, uh-huh. Wow, yeah. Like a child, I'm saying, dude really thought he was not only gonna win the election, but in his you gotta go into Congress and you gotta just crush everybody and make no friends and go in there and you gotta fight and I hate AOC and how dare you straight deals and how dare you his whole attitude about how you're supposed to be in Congress is basically make no friends, get nothing done.
Yeah. And Francesca coming for my strap in the Cenk Uygur impersonation department, but that whole.
Speaking of AOC, so AOC and Bernie are on this speakers tour right now, I guess, and they're fighting oligarchy on the road, right? Which good on you, kudos. But fucking, I've been seeing lots of videos of Palestine protesters crashing their rallies, and I've been seeing a lot of discourse in some of these. I'm in a lot of left versus right, capitalism versus communism, whatever. There's just one side versus the other kind of social media groups, and one of the pulse checks that I got from some of the people on the left that are in some of these groups are that essentially Bernie is a class traitor and he's right wing. And in my mind, I was thinking, man, maybe just not even sometime in the past 10 years where some of these people proudly supporting Bernie and thinking he's great to now calling him right wing and a class traitor, and the same thing with AOC. AOC's right wing, and I'm I feel like I'm back in those fucking days when we were having conversations with fucking PPG, and he was like, yeah, Anna Kasparian, she's right wing, blah blah blah, and then I just got really confused about this dynamic between either the Overton window shifting right or the definition of fascism moving left, because it used to be that only Nazis were fascist, but now apparently Democrats are also fascist. I don't know, whatever. Take all that, put it in a pot and stir it up, and take whatever you want from it. But I don't know. Does anybody out there think that Bernie is right wing? I've had people unironically say Bernie Sanders is right wing. Not even fucking centrist or whatever, like right wing. And AOC is right wing. Are these people just nut jobs, or do they have a point? I can't even tell anymore. But I'm curious to know what you guys think.
Oh, the diatribe interaction that she had with Jink right there. Like, people used to break my balls at Afterward all the time and say that I was like a real life Michael Scott to work with. But that's the most Michael Scott shit I've ever heard in my entire
People
life.
would say that about you?
Yeah, at Afterward.
Wow, that doesn't speak.
Anyway.
That's interesting.
Oh yeah, no, it was mostly a joke, but
I'm just like, he's like the worst boss ever.
oh no, I know, yeah, no, trust me, I was mostly trying to be self-deprecating, but that is the most Michael Scott shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, and also just the fact that he actually thought that he would win. I mean, that's the crazy thing, right? Like the fact that he actually thought he would win that congressional election. Look at the results, guys. I think he came in with like 4-5% of the vote ultimately. A complete humiliation, a total humiliation. And unlike every other candidate in that race, regardless of their politics or what they stood for, none of them had an online following. None of them had a YouTube channel with 5 million subscribers, or Jane loves to brag about, I was the first YouTuber, the biggest, longest running online news show. Well, apparently that amounts to absolutely nothing when you actually try to run for Congress. So yeah, pretty hilarious stuff. And yeah, imagine if Jink had delivered the articles of impeachment. I mean, honestly, that might have been better for the Democrats, because whoever the fuck they got to do it didn't have very much riz. Jink at least would have come in there like, we're gonna take this fucker down, like with that Keith Olbermann energy,
Dude, yes. And speaking of Keith Olbermann has been making his way back into the news a lot recently. He clobbered the fuck out of Bill Maher this weekend, but yeah, I think it's also crazy that after performing so poorly, right? What did he get? 6% in the congressional race. Obviously, none of this goes down. Like, what in Jink's mind inspired him to then launch the presidential bid? It's just absolutely fucking crazy.
I think I know his book coming out.
Yeah,
the same exact week that he announced it.
Yeah.
They were going to be like,
but at least he was passionate about that. Like, I don't even sense that level of energy or excitement.
No, but if it's but
the point is, left-right political spectrum is retarded. Hillary was the biggest mistake the Dems made. Yeah. I don't know. I wonder if Kamala was the biggest mistake they made. I'm wondering if there would have been somebody out there that could have defeated Donald Trump in this election. It's a toss-up between Hillary or Kamala. No doubt Hillary was a bad choice, but I'm wondering if Kamala was worse. Say this future Brit Israel someone Jacob Rees-Mogg reality TV show documentary part 1. Worse than Jacob Rees-Mogg? There's no such thing as worse than Jacob. First of all, Jacob Rees-Mogg is based. Okay, he's a based trad chad. And I remember we were watching. He had a reality TV show. I think we watched the trailer for it. Fucking Fullards of Francis Fullard. Okay, we'll put it in the queue. Being on the left sucks. Can't do shit on the left. Everyone just hates you over some nonsense. Bernie can win with AOC. They lose. No women will vote for Hillary. He cheated and she let it go. Guarantees a special aristocrat. Bernie can win with AOC. They lose. Interesting. Well, first of all, I just want to go back to this point real quick. Does anybody out there think that Bernie Sanders is right wing? Okay, because I can't wrap my head around this. It's still trying to understand why people would even say this. Is it strictly because of some kind of Israel-Palestine policy, or is there something deeper there? Because I've seen people on the left unironically call Bernie Sanders right wing and a class traitor and all these things. So I don't know. If you guys help me wrap my head around that. Like, either I'm crazy or they're crazy. One of the two. It's either like plain as day, yes, he's right wing and here's why, or no, those people are crazy and it doesn't even need an explanation. Bernie is as right as Musk. There you go. But Bernie can win with AOC. They lose. I want to say I agree with you on that one. I want to say I agree with I would probably say there's probably somebody better out there than AOC. I'm not saying AOC, doesn't have something, built out for her on a more executive level in an administration, like a cabinet position or something like that, for a future Democratic presidential tenure. But I just don't know if she brings enough to that ticket. But I also don't know who would who else would work with Bernie. Who are you gonna put in there, like Ilhan Omar or something? Are you gonna put the squad in there? Bernie in the squad, 2028. He voted foreign policy supportive of U.S. establishment. He supports continuing fighting of Ukraine. Bernie is soft on imperialism, corporatism, so it's not difficult to imagine a self-identified leftist arguing it, given that left-right is completely arbitrary. Okay. Told America what will happen, and the Dems are full of shit. Yeah. Okay. Okay, but even if we have some of these very descriptive, accurate talking points about Bernie, does that make him right wing? Are these people just saying this kind of like tongue in cheek, or do they mean what they say? Like this is as hard left as you get, I guess, close to Antifa. Save for Antifa or whatever, however you say it, like right on the border of Antifa, calling Bernie Sanders right wing. I just wonder if that makes sense, or if that's batshit crazy.
No, because make sure you know that when he's talking about anyone on the left,
yes,
he has so much passion and anger. What I'm saying is like
bitterness.
They were gonna be like, oh yeah, you should definitely present the articles of impeachment, Mr. Uger, now that you've won your like.
And you can probably pause it. That was the main thing that I thought was worth reacting to. And of course, she's totally right. That passion does still exist. But for whatever reason, it's only directed towards people like Olay, Francesca, Sam Cedar, Emma Vigeland, obviously occasionally, Silly and Billy. But yeah, like what the fuck? What the fuck? Where did that go? And, even if he was totally delusional, I do think there was something that was kind of infectious about Jink's like childlike energy or excitement back in that time period. I remember he convinced me that he had a chance of winning that congressional election. I never donated any money at the time, but I was like, fuck, he might actually do this. He might actually win this. It was the Bernie era. So he was, kind of coasting on that energy. Christy Smith seemed like such a miserable, forgettable kind of Democratic politician. It seemed like it was a possibility, right? But yeah, no, of course it never was. However, what's no longer present is that energy, excitement, enthusiasm that, made Cenk a compelling commentator in the first place in that period, the kind of commentator that could even launch a congressional campaign. Because trust me, guys, when he launched his presidential campaign, even though it was for the presidency, not the Congress, there was like way less excitement from the TYT audience, from the TYT community, from YouTube in general. Like most people kind of just saw it for what it was, which was a joke. When he ran for Congress, people actually were like, oh shit, this is actually going to happen. This is really something real.
Yeah, didn't he kind of half announce on Breaking Points, and Crystal Ball thought he was almost joking, and she was like, "Oh my gosh!"
We were the first channel to cover it.
Yeah, it is crazy. I guess to be fair to Cenk, Gavin, he did have a lot more of a media presence in his first congressional run. Do you think he would have been able to pull it off if he'd run in a more progressive friendly district? To be fair to Cenk, Orange County is not necessarily an easily winnable progressive California district.
I would say yes, that he would have done better. I don't know if he would have won. I do think he would have done better. Also, the district that he was running in, he literally moved there to run in it. So he was kind of carpetbagging, which I ultimately think hurt him as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess, and we don't need to relive this, but it does seem weird. It was Orange County. So I'm if you're going to carpetbag and move somewhere to run, theoretically,
it's because there was an open seat there. Someone was retiring, or someone had got, someone had died. I forget. It was something like that where there was an open seat and he saw it. He was like, fuck, I'm going to literally buy a house in this district so I can run there.
That's bold. You got to give it to Cenk. That's a man that pulls the trigger.
It would be like if someone up, like a congressperson up north died, North Kansas City, still close. We know the area. It's not like we have no relation to it, but say someone died up there and they were like, hey, I could buy a house up in Gladstone or whatever and declare for Congress. That's basically what Cenk did. So it's not like the end of the world, but I do imagine that most people within that district were like, yeah, let's actually vote in someone who's
an established politician from this area, which I think Christy Smith was.
Yeah, and then she ended up ultimately losing, right? She lost to the Republican guy.
Yeah,
So
she
just
lost her reelection.
humiliating all around.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
Chank and TYT. It's always something new. I think I watch more things about TYT than actually watching TYT. Bernie is as right as I am a Martian. Probably trying to slide their 1D window and are too narcissistic to realize they're more repulsive than influential. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's just been weird. I'm wondering how if I was being trolled or if it was unironic, but I don't know. I just think it's it's just it's so batshit crazy to say that Bernie Sanders is right wing that it has to be a troll, but it's 2025, so I guess it's possible that it's not a troll. But they were also saying AOC is right wing, and I'm just like, all right, whatever you say the world is. I just agree with you, just so we can move on from this topic. AOC and Bernie are right wing. Far right. Yeah, there you go. What else do we got here?
Echo chamber and
what else do we got? More TYT goes full delusional after getting called out. Nah, I think we're done with TYT for now. What else is there? The new right is cooked. Sam Hyde and Nick Rockefort. I'm curious about what that is. Oh, I have this Fulford thing already in. Yeah, these were some of the... I think we have some of these already in the queue. Some of those things you were talking about, Malibu. More TYT. Twitch poll drama. Son. Yeah, let's just watch this fucking feminist panel. This guy, this Jake Rattlesnake guy. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he's been on the Whatever podcast. He's done some stuff with Andrew Wilson. And apparently, Jake triggers and destroys male feminist worldview on why women can never be equal to men. There we go. We're talking about some misogyny earlier. Let's see if we can get our misogyny on.
I checked in, Amy.
For real? Why did you bring
picking
up
the bear to trigger you, Manar?
Go ahead, Adam.
So my question for Ryan, given everything you said, it would seem as if you're implying that this that like the quote unquote gender war thing is a top-down initiative being astroturfed by oligarchs in some way to distract people from real class consciousness. So the question from that would be, what is the evidence that any of this is actually happening, that this is a top-down thing?
I'd say it's not a grassroots thing. Like, and my evidence is if you go outside and talk to people, they're not talking about limiting women's right to vote. They're talking about things that are going on in their lives right now. They're not talking about if you have any friends who are men or women, really, we're not having conversations outside of panels about like taking away women's rights to vote. And I mean, maybe a lot of Republicans are, but normal people aren't.
Yeah, I think can I quickly add to
hold
that?
on.
Oh, hold on. Let Adam finish.
What I want to know is, do you have any actual evidence that this is top down other than people you know aren't talking about it? Because that's not evidence. People who I know generally don't talk about Austrian economics, but that doesn't mean that Austrian economics is a top down thing.
Sure. So what I'm really getting at is that, I mean, whether or not there are specific people who are pushing it, I think those people are benefiting from it, right? Like Elon and Trump right now, they would love for us to talk about feminism and fighting each other and gender and transgender people being in bathrooms instead of talking about the fact that they're robbing us fucking blind and like taking away the power of the people and consolidating it into their own hands. Like,
hold on. To be clear, that's a massive concession. You're saying you don't actually know whether or not this is a top-down thing. You're just asserting.
I'm saying
you're just asserting that it benefits.
That is my main thing. Yeah.
I can point to it. I can point to it. By the way,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think Trump uses what's known as wedge issues, which are issues that don't affect.
Why do you only watch the most obscure stuff, or do I somehow just miss when you watch popular debates? I don't, because we could put on the most fucking intellectual, fucking smart people versus smart person 1 versus smart person 2 debate ever. Right, we can do that, but I just like, there, you smart people do that on their own time anyway. I just kind of watch fucking slop, and I'm fucking unapologetic about it. I watch fucking low orbit Twitch poll fucking bullshit talk about either politics they know nothing about or drama, and I'm fucking happy swimming around in the fucking slop of it. Absolutely fine with it. If you want to watch fucking Noam Chomsky fucking debate fucking Zizek, whatever the hell, about systemic issues with fucking capitalism part 70 fucking million, then this is not the channel for that. I'm not going to watch these fucking, there might be one or two that come around that I'm really interested in. Like, for example, like a Sam Harris debate I watch, or some Christopher Hitchens stuff, or the Weinstein brothers. I would watch Eric or Brett. I'd watch stuff like that. I would watch stuff like that. I'm not opposed to like having like some serious intellectual content. Not that anybody here would consider either of them serious or intellectual, but in the times when I'm either gaming or I'm working on something else, I kind of just want the slop and just fucking it's more like these people talk about rage baity subjects and they just happen to be cringe people, right? I mean, we could sit here and watch fucking people we should be taking seriously, but I'm sure we all do that on our off time plenty enough. This stream is known for slop, and that's what we tend to do. From time to time, we'll listen to some smart people, talk about smart things or whatever. But like I just enjoy the drama and the slop and some of the bad politics that goes on. It's just fun, It's like tabloid kind of stuff. Piers Morgan debates are full of tards. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sometimes not. Sometimes he has some good guests on there, but some. He's been having Andrew Wilson on lately. He's had Destiny on. He's had Tommy Loren, fucking Chank, Hassan. It's like Piers Morgan is the highbrow version of what I do here. Right? He brings on those people to have serious conversations with them. I just watch them for the slop. Popular doesn't mean smart. Ergo Joe Rogan. Yeah. Let the dumb people fight. Smart person 1 versus smart person 2 are my favorite debaters. Exactly. I'm just saying, like, we could be, it's like, ooh, these people are super smart and they're making good points. Yeah, whatever. You probably watch that on your off time anyway, because in your off time, you're probably doing something productive, which is watching smart person 1 versus smart person 2 talk about the same fucking topic, version 700,042 or whatever. You probably do that on your off time anyway. And your off time, you're probably not watching the slop. And that's what you come here for. You come here for the slop. These are, I don't know who any of these people are except for this rattlesnake guy, who's this guy. He's the second to the right on the top, but the guy with the glasses. He's the Australian guy that's on, if you ever like see clips of like the Whatever podcast, or he does some stuff with Andrew Wilson from time to time, and he's got like his own kind of Christian YouTube channel or whatever. He makes the rounds in terms of the the podcast scene or whatever. The rest of these people, I have no clue who they are. Absolutely no idea. There's a person with a fox as a profile picture, so maybe we got a furry here. We got some guy that looks like a fucking like a Unabomber type, here. Second bottom left with the beard. I don't know who any of these people are. I think I've heard of Radical Coder before. I've definitely heard of Raging Tomato. Raging Tomato has been is kind of like, it's like the female Andrew Wilson, but not in the orthodox conservative sense, more in the I have a debate platform channel kind of sense. Yeah, so, but I don't know who the rest of those people are, but I'm just curious to see once they start talking about feminism and where that portion of the conversation goes. Sam Harris, more highbrow of science propaganda can be that. Yeah, I've been a big fan of Sam Harris for many years. I don't particularly care about his conversations or opinions about, Israel, Palestine. I know he's obviously unapologetically pro-Israel, but I like his conversations on morals and ethics and AI and changing IQ is another one that he's had. He's had some cool conversations with some controversial people. Like he did a very infamous podcast with Charles Murray talking about IQ and the bell curve and all that stuff. He got a massive amount of shit for that. He's had great conversations with Maajid Nawaz on, he's made a whole documentary with Maajid Nawaz, wrote a book with him. So he just has like really fun, highbrow, interesting conversations with people, and I've always enjoyed that. I don't care about whether he's a Zionist or not. I don't care about if anybody is a Zionist or not. I don't care about any of that. Okay? Don't. I never fucking talk about Israel Palestine because I'm just not qualified to talk about it. So that's what's crazy. Dumb people rule the world. Yeah. Yep.
The general public.
Anyways, I'm just listening for the fucking feminist rage bait. That's what this panel's about.
And therefore, these issues are inorganically creating outrage among the far right. One example was the trans people in bathroom stuff. Like, if you already look at it, there's laws against doing illegal stuff in bathrooms already, and trans people are a minority. So you're literally getting people afraid of someone that you're not even likely to encounter in that way to begin with.
Totally agree. So where is Trump? So where is Trump doing a top-down push? Using the wedge issue of feminism or gender wars as we understand it. Can you show me an example of that?
If the narrative comes from Trump, it's by definition from the top, right?
Yes. So I'm asking you, where is it coming from Trump?
Which I don't think Trump.
I've literally never heard him say any of these talking points.
Does he originate any of these talking points at all? Do you don't think some of the things that he says?
Can we?
I don't think he does.
Panel, please. This is like my 5th time asking you. If you have an interjection or something, and if it's just a one-liner, save it. Nobody cares what you're about to say in terms of a one-liner. Just hold your breath, wait until they're done, and then you can respond. Okay, Jake, are you all set up now?
Yes, I think we're all good. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yep.
All right, great. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the gender wars and and the patriarchy. Just give me that again, Sarah.
So kind of the idea of, are these gender wars, the concept of feminism, the patriarchy, even we can dive into like the Christianity, like all of these different things, but particularly the gender wars, where is it coming from? Because I look at it like I'm out in the normal world. I'm at work. I'm with friends. I'm doing all this other stuff, and nobody talks about feminism or patriarchy or we need to shut this down or do this. Like nobody's talking about it.
That's
but then I come on.
That's such a
Jesus fucking Christ! Did you just interrupt me?
That's a privileged mindset.
But then I go to YouTube. And, in this little corner, it's just feminism everywhere, so on and so forth. Obviously, we're hosting debates about it. So my question is, are these gender wars even real, or is this some kind of propaganda drop down, or what is the crisis at hand, and why is it a crisis?
Yes, Ryan is proof that they are real.
Go ahead, Jay.
Obviously, there is a gender war, and we've had 100 years of feminist conditioning. And until that's untangled, there's going to continue to be a gender war. But the only reason that there is a gender war is because men have allowed women to have these so-called rights that you guys all talk about. And if men collectively decided tomorrow to get rid of these rights, then there wouldn't be a gender war because there's nothing that they could do about it.
When you say we, you don't mean men, right? Because I would never align with you on that. Like most men would not align with you on that. So I don't think that when you say we, you're not who you're talking about there.
Don't you think that's an overly simplistic binary?
Who am I talking to? Am I talking to one person or am I talking to a few people?
No, there's not as many people as you are.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan came through like the clearest.
Ryan, yeah. So obviously, something about you told me that you wouldn't align with me. So I'm not surprised by that. But I'm just talking about hypothetically, if men decided tomorrow to take away the rights of women, there's nothing that they could do about it. You do agree with that, right?
Not really. And I think men and women fought for men fought alongside women to get.
That's not what I asked, Ryan. That's not what I asked. Yeah. What I asked was, if men collectively decided tomorrow to take away the rights from women, could they do so?
Like if all men were gonna do an act, like we're gonna put all men in one side of a room and all women on the other side, and they're gonna battle it out. Is that what you're asking?
No, what's up, Salty? How you doing? There are two genders, and one of them should get back in the fucking kitchen. That's what I'm talking about. What's up, brother?
It's a pretty simple question, Ryan. If men decided tomorrow to take women's rights away, could they do it?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
So
we could make it illegal for women to vote, and then people would resist it, right? Like I would resist it. I think most men would resist it. Yeah.
The things that have happened throughout the course of history, which is men not giving women these rights until basically we had a bunch of technology that begets feminism, where women can have air-conditioned offices and can get little lanyards for their working. Now all of a sudden, women do have rights. So
I think it was until there were mechanisms by which more people could influence the government. That the more people that have been able to influence the government, the more likely people's human rights have been to be represented. And with time, that's exactly what happened in the United States. So women got the right to vote as a lot more people got a political voice and were expressing it. So.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree that as women entered more into politics and more into the workplace, etc., they had more say. But the question is, if tomorrow that wasn't the case anymore, could men just take away women's rights? And the question ultimately boils down to, if men do not consent, then can there be liberation?
If men do not consent, rights could be taken away from women. Yes, this could happen. It did happen. Roe v. Wade was overturned. Women's right to bodily autonomy was taken away in a lot of states. So yes, this can happen, and it could happen here, where women's right to vote could also be taken away, but you would be met with resistance. We would resist you.
Yeah, you would resist us. Okay.
Yes, and we would win.
So. You would win. Well, that's not really happened throughout the course of human history, and it's not really happening all around the world.
I'm pretty sure women can vote right now.
We see many examples of that everywhere. But would you agree with me that in order to replace the liberal world that we live in, we need to actually have people? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, people have babies. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Sure. And obviously you agree that the birth rate is in precipitous decline at the moment in the Western world, throughout the entire Western world?
It's lower than, but it's, I mean, I don't think I buy into the that we're going extinct or something. I'm not sure about that.
Well, mathematically, you just look at it and that's exactly what happens. As soon as you go below replacement, it starts to fall precipitously. There's an exponential curve that goes up with population. We've seen that, and we've seen that in other countries around the world, and then also goes down as well in a similar fashion. We're seeing that at the moment throughout the entire Western world. And also places like Japan and South Korea. I mean, South Korea, I think, is 0.7. And this is an extinction level event for countries like that. And the United States is on a similar path.
So if we want more people to have babies, we should probably incentivize them to have babies.
Yeah, which we're not doing. And so feminism is one of the leading causes that doesn't incentivize people to have babies.
I feel like feminism is the movement that's gotten us things like maternal and paternity leave in most countries that we don't have here.
Yeah, how's that going?
And those are things that make people more likely to want to have babies, because then they can actually take time off work to take care of those babies. But
sure,
you don't
how's that going for you, Ryan?
So you're actually disincentivizing births.
Sure, Ryan, how's that going for them? How's maternity leave going in incentivizing birth rate?
It's great. I think people are more likely to have a baby if they think they can take maternal leave. Yeah.
Sure, Ryan. Is the birth rate going up or is it going down, Ryan?
It depends on a lot of factors. It's not
Is the birth rate going up or is it going down, Ryan? Pretty simple question.
It might be a simple question. I don't know. I assume it's going down.
Yeah, well, if you looked into it,
but we don't have
it is most definitely going down. So
we don't have enforced maternity leave in the United States, right? Or paternity leave. We don't have
cool,
this, like other countries do.
Sure. So feminism not working. Obviously. So would you agree that feminism promotes the idea that women should offset having children in their 20s and should have children more in their 30s, and should focus on a career more and should focus on being more independent?
I think feminism resists the imposition of those things on women. So women are allowed to go
Feminism.
to work, or they can stay home and have babies, and they're absolutely allowed to have babies. And they're like certain. I don't have any problems with housewives. It's not illegal to be a housewife. Like women, some women want to do that.
Never said it was illegal, but would you say that
but you want to make it illegal? You would.
Hold on,
You would
Lauren,
prefer
let's
they
answer the
wasn't,
questions.
right? No.
Let's answer the questions first. So would you say that
Okay,
feminism
I-
disincentivizes people to stay at home and have children, and it incentivizes women to go out into the workforce and into higher education?
Into higher education? Yeah, that's a good thing. I like higher education for people.
Okay, so now we get back to the birth rate question. If women are offsetting having children into their 30s, the average age that women graduate these days is 24, and then they have to go into their career and they have to work away to eventually become a dermatologist by the time that they're 36 or whatever that is, then would you say that that is a contributing factor to the downfall of the birth rate? At least would you acknowledge it's a contributing factor?
Could, but again, like
Okay.
there are other better solutions, like than resisting the whole like quote unquote resisting feminism is like an
What's the better
abstraction, like,
solution?
providing incentives for people to have children, like child tax credits, and having maternity leave and paternity leave, and all these things that actually do help people and help children.
Okay. And how's that going for the birth rate, Ryan?
That would probably help the birth rate. In the United States, we don't have
Yeah,
those
it's
things.
not going so good. It's not going so good.
Okay, we don't have those things
So
here.
Ryan,
I don't know how
if you would agree, because you agree with me here, that where's he gone?
I switched it. Somebody paid for the next one. He wants you to debate Mel now. Don't worry, Mel will pick right back up.
I was halfway through.
I can give you both of them if you want. You want
Coder
both
and
of them?
I are
both. Give me them both.
Coder and I are part of the leftist hive mind, so I can easily carry off.
Cool. But I want to continue the conversation that I was having with Ryan because we were halfway through. So, Ryan, you've agreed with me that feminism essentially disincentivizes people to have children, right? Feminism
No.
is not what you were saying in terms of like paid maternity leave and all these sorts of things. It hasn't actually produced that. So that's an abstraction. That's just an idea.
Because of resistance
But
from
feminism
people like
has
you.
feminism has produced a bunch of people who don't want to have children and who would rather go to Cancun on a holiday twice a year and would rather just be independent boss babes. So this actually does
know a
in
lot
fact
of
lower the birth
feminists?
rate. Hold on a second, I'm not finished. So this actually does lower the birth rate. And if the birth rate is lowered, and if we actually can't replace our population, which is happening in reality, if this is the case, then what's the solution to that if we need to have a sustainable labor market, which we do? What's the solution to that, Ryan?
Incentivizing people to have children through things like child tax credits and maternity leave and paternity leave and other ways, like things that prevent childhood poverty, which is a big fear that many women have before if they're considering getting pregnant. So these would be moves that would help people have children and make it more appealing to women who would then be able to do that while also pursuing careers that they also want to do because they're also people, right?
Jake, do you know a lot of
Where's
feminists
that
by
happening?
chance?
I don't know who this fox is who keeps talking, but I'm having a conversation with
It's
Ryan.
Melanie.
So Ryan,
I'm here too.
where is that happening and where's it working?
That's happening in at least several countries. I don't off the top of my head. I don't know. But
Okay, I can tell you where they are doing this.
this.
They're doing this in places like Holland, and they're doing this in places like Sweden, all these Nordic countries that you guys love to sort of like masturbate over on the left. So wherever this is happening, show me where it's increasing the birth rates. Demonstrate that for me.
I mean, we could dig into that specifically, but I mean, just an
If you dig into it, you're going to find it's not.
real quick. Just
That was a good
all
line.
things else equal, do you think someone's more likely to have a child if they have
That's a good line, actually. I like that one. You have to save that one for later. Like Norway or Sweden or the other countries you guys like to masturbate over.
access to maternity leave, or if they don't have access to maternity leave?
I don't think
All
it makes a
things else
difference, and I think that the evidence actually bears that out. It'll incentivize them to go into their career. It'll incentivize them to have a career because they think they have a safety net, and then they'll end up freezing their eggs and trying to have babies when they're 35. But all we have to look at is the data and the statistics on that. We have countries like the Nordic countries who have these sort of social programs, and it's actually not working. The birth rates are going down precipitously. And you know what they're doing in those countries, Ryan? What do you think they're doing to actually replace their labor market? What do you think is actually happening there? If you had to look at it and just be objective about it, don't be ideological. What they're doing is they're bringing in the third world. They're bringing in a bunch of people from the Arab world and from the African world to replace their labor market. And do you know what these people do, Ryan? They make sweet, sweet love 7, 8 times. 7, 8 times to have children. They have lots and lots of big babies. They have lots and lots of families.
Hell yeah,
And
we need
these
people, right? That's what you're just crying about.
Yes, exactly right. But you know what the problem is with this, Ryan? Is that these
They're not like
people
you.
are not so feminist. unfortunately. No, they're not like you, my friend. They're a lot more like me than they are like you.
Yeah, but when they
These people-
exist in liberal society, they become more like that. Like
is that
Muslims in the
happening
United
in
States are
England?
extremely liberalized.
Do you know what's happening over in Europe at the moment, Ryan? Do you know what's happening in England? They've got Sharia courts over in England.
There are some issues with immigration over there right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So in America, you guys have more immigration from the Latin world. So you have a lot of people from Mexico, etc. By the way, they're Catholic, so they're more patriarchal than you guys. But over in England, they've got a massive population of Muslims over there. And eventually, England is slated to actually become a Muslim country. Now, how do you think feminism is going to fare when England is a Muslim country?
I think
Ryan, you got to stop letting him railroad this, dude.
I'm just asking simple questions.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Just simple questions, guys.
So I could even work with the argument that the birth rate is declining as a result of feminism. That would actually be a good thing because we're having more planned pregnancies and planned families, which leads to better outcomes for both the parents and the child. However, one of the things we know about birth rate is that it's also heavily tied to economics. In fact,
hold on a second. You just made one claim. You said that it's better for the families. You just made one claim. You've made one claim. Let's take it one claim at a time.
Have a double standard.
No. That's shock. You can't shotgun the points. If you want to say that it's better for the family, demonstrate that for me.
You literally shotgun points all the time. I've had to sit here and wait. So I
ask questions.
Let's go. I do like it. I do like the line of logic. So Mel, if you can do one claim at a time and at least give Jake the opportunity to refute it, that would be helpful. I think for the conversation to move along a little more productively. Thank you.
Okay,
so the first claim that you made there, Mel, was that it's better. These plans demonstrate that for me. How's it better? How's it better for families and better for societies? And how does this actually tie into feminism? Because as we know that what's happening around the United States is that there's higher divorce rates, there's more children outside of wedlock, and all these sorts of things. So demonstrate for me how that's better.
So he's making like 3 different points.
So
no, I'm making a counterpoint.
Do you want to hear about how it's better for the parent or the child? Because there's 2 ways to answer that.
No, I want to hear about how it's better for society as a whole. I don't care what makes people happy.
So
I don't care about their emotional state.
it's better for society when children grow into adulthood with less crime rates, better education, better nutrition, better social conditioning, and living in a household that can afford them. And that is what we see with better planned families and when we allow things like abortion.
True.
When you allow, so it's better for the children when you allow things like abortion for them to not even be born in the first place.
Well, yeah, because they didn't exist. They didn't exist in the first place.
Well, and also many people who seek abortions, and I think most people who've gotten an abortion are mothers. Like people already have one child. So yeah.
Okay, now you're going to have to demonstrate for me how feminism does that better than, for example, how things used to be when people would meet young and they would have children young and they would stay together and they would not divorce and they would not have children outside of wedlock. You're going to have to demonstrate
for the husband to rape them.
No,
so
it wasn't. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Ryan? How are you going to demonstrate? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was assault. That was considered assault back then. No, it wasn't. You're just factually wrong about that. That was considered assault. It just wasn't essay. Anyways,
yeah, no women would be
that
ignored when they went to the police station. But anyways, feminism frames abortion as a woman's rights issue because it gives them better health outcomes. For example, being able to get it when their mental health is better, instead of having to have a pregnancy when their mental health isn't as good as it could be.
So you're saying that feminism, I don't care how feminism frames abortion. Abortion is murder. It's the taking of an unborn innocent life. So you can say that and you can say, oh, well, they won't have to raise the baby when they're not doing so mentally well. And tell me, like, what's the standard for that? If I wake up one day and I'm 8 months pregnant and I say, my mental health today, not so good. Let's just get rid of this thing. Is that okay?
The standard is the pregnant person's own concern for their mental health and if they think that they could endure raising a child with their current mental health state.
Okay,
I don't think anyone really decides.
So then
like,
the question that I asked.
I don't think anyone actually does the thing you ask. Yeah,
Ryan, stop trying to save her. Stop trying to save her.
I'm not. I'm making.
If anything, he's giving you more to deal with, which is annoying for me.
Probably. Yeah.
Okay, so Mel, if I wake up one day, I'm 8 months pregnant, and I say, having a rough day today, mental health is not so good. Can I just get rid of the baby?
I mean, like my personal stance on abortion is yes.
I don't care about your personal stance.
That is not the feminist. No, the feminist stance is usually 6 to 8 weeks.
All right. What is give me the objective feminist stance?
I think the stance is still relies on the idea that you're still having an abortion one way or the other. Like the timeline can come down to, you know, different preferences or whatever, but it still allows you to do it nonetheless. And quick shout out to chairman of the board with the Big Ten. All men could band together to take women's rights, and that's proof that men give women rights. Contains two logical fallacies, a mix of a straw man and a false cause. Jake, I think you were kind of alluding to this concept earlier. You're welcome to respond if you want.
Chairman of the board needs to get on the panel because that is the most ridiculous comment. How does which one is it?
Oh, it's me. Hey, how you doing, Jake? I'm a big fan of yours, by the way. I'm really flattered to be on the panel with you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. So how's it a straw man?
Well, so let me explain my reasoning because it's a mixture, right? So it's like saying, and I'll test the logic by changing the scenario a little bit instead of using the extreme of all the men band together to take away the women's rights, and therefore that's proof that women are given rights by men.
How's a hypothetical a straw man? It's a hypothetical question. So how can a hypothetical be a straw man?
If you're going to let me finish.
Go for it.
Yeah. So
you have to do it through my.
I want to hear what Chairman has to say as well.
Hold on, Doc. He's talking. Go ahead.
It's like me saying that I burned down your house and save you from it, therefore I save you. Or all the women in a neighborhood get together and wreck your car by hitting it with baseball bats so that they own your car.
It's actually
right?
How is it like that?
Logic.
What are you talking about?
Actually, it's more like
the logic used in the argument. It's going to an extreme to prove his position, but it doesn't actually prove anything.
So it's a hypothetical. So it can't be a straw man. Okay, it's a hypothetical, and the hypothetical is actually true if men did band together. And so if you said to me, if I burnt down your house and then saved you from it, it's completely disanalogous to the hypothetical that I made. The hypothetical that I made, which actually happens all around the world, we've seen this in places like Afghanistan, where the men come to power, the Taliban, they say, hey, listen, women, no more school for you. This actually happens.
Shout out to the Taliban.
Right. I'm not going to argue the position that people don't oppress each other. Right. That would be foolish to argue the position that people don't oppress each other. But I'm just speaking on the specific use of that hypothetical as a tool in an argument. I think it's bad faith. And I've seen Andrew Wilson use it a whole bunch of times too. And it just doesn't stand up when you use it in comparisons. Like, and I'm not a feminist, man. You know, I'm not arguing from that position. I just don't like that.
Hey, Chairman.
I also know this
position is being misrepresented by the argument. Whose position is being misrepresented?
The Taliban. The Aussies are going to hate this, but the Taliban is also going to tell you, for worse or for worse, but they're going to tell you to trust and believe people that are making social and economic choices, that they have a reason for doing that, right? Like, so it's a really different way of thinking.
Anson, so if you're saying it's a straw man, that means it's a misrepresentation of somebody else's point. So whose point is being misrepresented?
The point that the point of the argument which was being had, which was that women get rights from men. That was the point of the hypothetical, was to drive that point home, and that's
okay. Anson.
Yeah.
If I'm straw manning a position, it has to be a position that is made by somebody else.
I can answer.
So if I'm straw manning Radical Carter's position, it's a position that he made. It's an argument that he made that I'm straw manning. So who is making the argument that this hypothetical is straw manning? Because you're saying it's a straw man.
Anyone
that of somebody's position. Who is that somebody?
Anyone that says women's rights don't come from men. That's
okay. So you're claiming that Jake is straw manning his own position. So you're claiming that Jake is straw manning his own position when he's making the argument.
I would say the thing he's straw manning is real quick.
Can we let it? Can we go one at a time, gentlemen? Right now, I think it's Ryan and Adam. Can everybody else kind of butt out for a second? Go ahead, Ryan.
I think the thing that's being strawmanned from my perspective is the feminist perspective, and more importantly, the like what was done by feminists to get the rights. It's not that men just gave them to women like one day. They just felt like they felt like they just decided one day to give women rights. Like women and men fought for a long time, and I mean, Duck was going through a lot of examples at the beginning of this panel about like stories of women who did remarkable things throughout history fighting for rights. And so you're kind of straw manning the history, like really, you're straw manning the story of feminism, I would say.
Okay, so it's not a straw man of feminism, and it's not a straw man of the history according to feminism, because it is an alternative perspective of history that is opposed to the feminist view. It is not a straw man because
what is alternative history?
No, hold on. It is not a straw man of history because it is opposed.
No, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable for this. Absolutely not.
If
you
gentlemen,
come up with 10 people and you tell us alternative
Gentlemen.
history exists, that's nonsense.
Okay. Orca speaks with the big five, says, let's go, Jake. Wait, which channel am I on again? You must be watching on both ends. Made by Jim Bob coming in with a big 10 says, Ryan, if more males identify as women and dominate every field, is that still feminism?
Absolutely.
That's definitely not happening by any more males is there's like 100 trans athletes
That's a conditional question, Ryan. That's a hypothetical. He's not saying it is happening. He's saying if
but it's an insane hypothetical. I don't know.
No, it's saying if it happened.
If.
I think by the time if that happened, then like the way that we got to that point would have involved so much restructuring of what sporting categories. Like I think the question would be kind of absurd by that point.
It would be a crazy
we'll see what
question
happens.
in 2025. Crazy question in
2025. Hold on. So it's a yes or no question. If it did happen, would it be feminism or not?
And what I'm commenting on
I can answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So feminism fights
But
for
for
equality
Ryan,
of the sexes.
I understand your need to save your buddy here, but I want Ryan to answer the question because it goes to Ryan.
Hold on. Adam. Mel, you were saying something, please.
So it would still be feminism because feminism fights for equality of the sexes, and you could still have equality of the sexes. The word dominate there, I don't think we would allow domination anymore. So if they're truly dominating, then sure, that's something that would eliminate it. But assuming that like it's just identifying as women and there's lots of women in every field, well, okay, yeah, if women are a majority, that's not necessarily not feminism.
Well, okay, and I see the argument being made here. So if men put on skirts, okay, and went in and said, I'm a woman, hear me roar, I want job, I take job, and now women are inherently booted out of the workforce because these men went in and identified as women. So when it comes to HR is satisfied because, oh, we've got X amount of women and men because these dudes identify as women. Essentially, that's like kind of going against the grain there. I don't think it's. I think it goes against the concept of feminism. So it actually harms women more than helps. So this is where I would appeal to men to come in and actually get this shit out of there, because now real women are being put down as second-class citizens yet again.
So trans women are keeping women out of HR?
What I'm saying is if men put on a skirt, okay, this whole panel, let's just say you all decide today you're going to put on a skirt and we're all going to go apply for the same job, right? And HR has a like the DEI diversity quota hiring, right? And they say, well, we need X amount of women to satisfy this quota to make us be whatever. I can easily get booted out just because a dude comes in, puts on a skirt and says he identifies as a woman. So it's like, that's a sneak attack there.
Wouldn't if you're gonna have some sort of quota system, like the point of those kinds of quotas is to make sure that the makeup of that group reflects the makeup of society. So like some percentage of society are trans people. So that quota could include some amount of trans people, some amount of cisgender people, and then
no, you're misunderstanding.
See,
At some point,
I actually I actually agree with Ryan on something here. I do not believe that we should offer undue benefits to the 1%. I think the 1% are overprivileged in society, and in this case, when I say the 1%, I mean trans people, because they're about 1% of the population. And in some cases, we're talking about 0.1%, which would, Ryan also doesn't believe that we should give undue benefits to just 1% of the population. You can
It's
just
facing higher rates of violence of privilege.
I don't think so.
What?
Yeah, what privileges are trans people getting?
So privileges, well.
Before we get on a tangent, can I chime in really quick before we get far away from the analogy?
Are you saying a trans woman is not a
hold
woman?
on, stop. Effigy, is that?
Yeah, it was me.
We got some background.
No. So who's got the? Who's trying to talk?
Mr. What?
Whoever's got their mic open while they're talking.
I'm gonna mute you, Mr.
Really quickly, before we get too far away from it, this dumb analogy that we keep hearing: if all men band together, they could take away all the rights. Therefore, they have the ability. By the exact same logic, if all women band together, could they not end the species? Could they just decide that I'm not having babies anymore? And by your logic, then sure they could.
Let me
right?
ask the question to you. Then, is that what's happening? Are women subconsciously doing that in some weird
I'm
way?
just saying, by the logic of their example, if a group bands together and has the ability to do something, they should be the arbiters over that. So if women can band together and end the species by not allowing babies to come from them, shouldn't they be the ones who, by your own logic, are the ones who get to decide who comes into this world or not?
No, they can't do that. We can't do that.
Oh, is it you, Jake?
Yeah, I'll respond to this. I'll respond to this.
Oh, hold on. Your mic sounds like crap. What happened?
It's doing to our ears what you're about to say you would do to women if they tried to stop having kids.
Yes, that's why in Muslim countries, all these women, they band together, guys, so they can break apart the patriarchy. What is this BS, man? A woman, if you
women and men who don't want to see that.
Let me pose.
Better.
Yes, thank God. Go ahead, Jake.
Cool.
Before.
Yeah, so it wasn't actually by our own logic, because with our own logic, these things have actually happened. So can you tell me where that's happened ever, that women have decided to end the species?
No, that was our question to you earlier.
Yeah, no,
because
so
there's been no time in history where all men ever have banded together.
Men have banded together and taken away the rights of women. That has happened. It's still happening today. So where has it happened, what you're saying, that women band together and decide to end the species?
It's hypothetical.
It was a hypothetical, right? Yeah.
Well, where's it happened?
That's not.
But there's no place ever where men in the entire world have banded together and all agreed on the same thing. It wouldn't happen here. You couldn't have it in the United States have all men band together.
This is actually a straw man. So Effigy is actually straw manning the position.
It makes no sense.
Hold on. I think Jake, the question was posed as a hypothetical. So nobody's saying it has happened, but we're saying, what if women did band together and say, like, we're not going to have babies anymore, fuck society, whatever. And then I think I did ask the question, is that what's going on now? Like, women are waiting, or they're choosing not to have children, or you have the abortions, you have the birth control, you have all these sorts of different things. So in some weird subconscious way, have they decided to do that now?
No, they haven't. And they're not going to, and they never could, because even if they did decide that they would try and do that, what men would do is they would band together and they would enslave those women and they would impregnate those women.
Ooh.
Like I said.
Oh, man.
Kind of creepy.
So, also, Effigy, I have to point out how you were actually engaging in a straw man. So the claim isn't all men, it is men. You only need a small number of men in order to overthrow a government. Jake repeatedly used the example of the Taliban. The Taliban was not all of the men in Afghanistan. It was an organized minority of men who were able to come together, form a militia,
maybe his specific version of this hypothetical, but the hypothetical
US
that's constantly
government
used in
and the
this
Soviets.
manosphere is the larger all men version. So maybe I was wrong in this instance. Maybe you're right. So the hypothetical is usually, what if all men decided to do this to all women? And the logic I was pointing to was by you saying that all men can do this, they should be the arbiters of whether or not women should have that. By that logic, if all women can band together and end the species by the fact that they are the baby factories, well, shouldn't, by your logic, they then be the arbiters of whether or not they give birth or not, who comes into the world and lives or dies in that sense?
Well, okay, so Effigy, I can admit that there might be some people who do a very unsophisticated form of this argument, but the majority of the time this argument is made, there's never an ought claim attached. It is merely a descriptive fact of how rights operate in the real world. And the claim the claim is not that that this makes it so that this ought to work like this. The claim is that this is how it works descriptively, and this is how it's worked repeatedly.
How was what I said not descriptively? If you get a woman pregnant and she doesn't want to have your baby, she gets an abortion.
Gentlemen, didn't this kind of happen in, I think it was China, where like the 403B thing happened, and now they're like practically paying them South Korea. Thank you. So I guess in essence, it kind of did happen to some degree. I don't know how they made out with it, but Robert Demita.
No, it was
a
small social movement. It was a small social movement, and they could never. Yeah, sorry, go on, Sarah.
Sorry. Robert Demita with the Big Ten. Appreciate the stream, Sarah. You rule. Shout out to you, Robert Demita, and I owe you a wrench on this side, Robert. Orca Speaks with the Big Five. Based Australian, as if that's actually a play. Poor Jake. They hit you every time. Okay, go ahead, Jake. I apologize.
It's true, though. They're actually right about that. So, yeah, no, it was a small social movement. I think it was a 3B movement or whatever it was in South Korea
4B.
where women were sort of going 4B, going, it was like kind of like the opposite to MGTOW. It was like women going their own way. So, yeah, it was a small social movement, but no, the reason why their birth rate is so low over there is not because of that. It's because of like many other different factors, including like urbanization and yeah, it's not because of that 4B movement, but it's actually just not possible, because if they got together and they said collectively, we are going to just end the species, men would just say, no, you're not, sweetheart.
Well, and the other thing, and this is actually a point I really wanted to bring up with Korea, but I was in the back coping so hard. Ryan, you were talking about providing social benefits. One of the specific social benefits you talked about, and you brought up a bunch, was maternity leave. South Korea has very, very good maternity leave policies. They even have paternity leave. It has not helped. They were implemented since at least 2016, and it's like a year of maternity leave. And since 2016, the birth rate has continued to drop.
So I'm not saying there are other factors. So what I would be curious at is to look at, like, comparatively, are women and men who have access to maternity and paternity leave, like if they're comparative, like the same, like otherwise the same, like are they more or less likely to have children? And my instinct.
He just gave you the stats.
More likely.
Isn't it pretty?
He just gave you the reason.
He told me.
Well,
he actually told me that in the country the birth rates are still low, but he didn't give me the specific thing I'm referring to, right?
The countries.
I don't have those specific stats on like the specific stats you're referring to, because that's like a really, really particular. And to be frank, I can't read South
You would
Korean.
identify whether or not that policy is working for your goal, right?
Question, gentlemen, and maybe Jake and Ryan, maybe you can dive into this one. If the economy were to, per se, do better to the point where you don't necessarily have to have two incomes to support a household, because I feel like that's, in terms of the middle class, it is necessary to a degree. If the economy suddenly did magically better, do you think that women would then return back home because there's no need for them to work, or maybe not have the ambition to do it, or to
May I point something out?
No.
The most common form of feminism, or at least the most popular, is choice feminism, which is actually kind of interesting, because I would argue, yes, if you did that, you would actually see more women able to embrace the trad lifestyle. But it's an important point to make that you're preventing it so long as as we're not paying people enough, like a livable wage. So that way one person can support an entire household to begin with, and that forces women to work, and they can't embrace the trad lifestyle.
Look, you can look at the evidence of where in the world the birth rates haven't collapsed and see that it's not at all tied to economics, right? That's ridiculous. If you look at the actual data in the places where in the world where women are still having lots of children, they're not rich people. They're not people with means, right? So the collapsing birth rate is a disease of control, though, Anson. It's a disease of the rich and not a disease of the poor.
But in third world countries, it's more of an issue of affording birth control and stuff like that. When
you're pointing out exactly why the birth rate collapsed is because all of these people have access to prevent pregnancy, whereas all throughout human history that didn't happen. And then suddenly, when women had access to be able to decide whether or not to have children, birth rates slowly started to decline, and it created an entirely different culture that hadn't existed previously in human history.
But Anson, when you look across countries that have like the top 15% GDP type countries, it's the ones that have higher GDP that actually have more children. It's the sort of thing like in a third world country, the dynamics are okay.
You got it backwards.
That's not the case. This guy's just wrong. That's not the case. It's actually the countries with the lowest GDP. You go to places like Africa, in countries like Chad, and places like this. You have people with 8 children.
Let him finish, Mel.
Yeah,
but he's doing a straw person.
Okay, but I want to hear him
hold on.
finish, at least.
Brother, relax. So yeah, no, that's not the case. The highest birth rates in the world are in the Arab countries and in the African countries. Some of them are up to like 6 to 8 birth rates. And as countries become more urbanized and as countries become more liberal, then this is when they start to drop their birth rates. So to the question that Sarah's asking, if something magically happened with the economy, well, we have been getting richer. We have more nice shit. We have iPhones. We have MacBook Pros. But we're having less and less babies. And this is because
So
people
Mel,
just
weren't you talking about first world countries comparing like first world countries, or no?
Well, and Jake, I don't know if it's necessary. That's like material things. I don't know if that necessarily represents the strength of the economy, right? Like we can still buy stuff on credit in America, right? Just because
America has a massively strong economy. America is the strongest economy in the world.
I wouldn't agree with that either.
I mean,
America has the biggest military in the world. They absolutely destroy. I mean, you may not. If you look at the health of economy, there's a lot of different variables. So you could say that America doesn't have the healthiest economy. Fair enough, but America has the biggest military in the world by far. They are the biggest consumer market in the entire world. I mean, America is the U.S. dollar is the global reserve currency. There's really no argument that America is. Well, I mean, you have to prove that. You could make the argument that the USA is being taken over.
China
taken over.
could easily outpace America if America was into recession because they have a higher population.
So you're saying that population begets strength? Is that what you're saying?
When you have more people in a market, there's automatically more demand. Yes.
So there, you've just refuted your own feminist argument, by the way.
Jake, so you're not American, so I'm going to help you out a little bit. You too, Furby, you're Canadian. So in the last 50 years, a dollar has devalued to the point where it's worth 5 cents what it was 50 years ago, right? All of the generational wealth that my family had over generation was stolen through an inflation tax that people don't even pay attention to. Our economy is so ridiculously, like, it's a giant bubble, right? Mm-hmm. It's not a good economy. And so I just made an argument for why what you said is wrong, right? It's a house of cards.
But the entire world is on a fiat currency, though, right?
I know.
The entire world is on fiat currency. So inflation is actually not just a specifically American problem. Inflation is worldwide.
Yeah, this is an issue of disenfranchising yourself from the gold. It's not an issue of the of the dollar, the petrodollar, or the American dollar and being weak. The American dollar is
inflation is also a symptom.
The American dollar is so strong; it still siphons wealth right now from other countries in its weak inflationary position right now.
It's to the global reserve currency. Yeah, exactly right. And if it were to lose its position as the global reserve currency, then you couldn't say this about it. Like if the Chinese yuan was to take over as the global reserve currency, then yeah, sure, America wouldn't be the strongest economy. But right now they still are. And having the US dollar as the global reserve currency gives you an incredible amount of leverage all around the world, which is why they can impose sanctions on Iran, why they can impose sanctions on Russia and all of these different places. So America has the strongest hand, 100%.
When it comes to Saturn, it's hard to summarize.
Okay. Sounds like you guys got a lot from that. I love these arguments about, like, you know, if the men just up and decided one day to fucking take away women's rights, there's nothing that anybody could do about it. You know, if all men banded together and you know ran a monopoly on the use of force, could they essentially wipe out whatever rights there are for women, you know, and just, you know, one fell swoop. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be one fell swoop, but I don't know. I find this force doctrine discourse compelling. It's probably useless, but at the same time, I think it's compelling and interesting. What time is it? 3. All I get out of that is that ridiculously uninformed people are somehow confident enough to broadcast their terrible takes. Yeah, yeah. You need to be reminded of exactly that. Okay, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'm going to bed. I'm gonna be up in 5 hours for work here, so appreciate you guys hanging out. XN, Onion, NOK, Maida, Nerdidity, Salty, everybody was here. I'm actually gonna send you guys over to Nerdidity. I think they're a friend of NOK's. But yeah, we'll see. I gotta get some sleep. But thanks for hanging out. Probably, maybe be on later today. We'll see. Good women will make you a better person. Yeah, that's true. Good women will make you a better sandwich. Hey, that's even more true. Fuck yeah. I love that salted. That's a good one. Yeah, I'll see you guys later. Go say hi to Nerdidity. I think they're kind of a new streamer. One of NOK's friends, I think so. Appreciate you hanging out. Sorry if it was uneventful, but I had to get some of this work done. So, but yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.